Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Yoga for Singers class, in which we will focus on not only stretching and strengthening your entire singing body, but also grounding and connecting, as well as exploring 3 of the 7 chakras that I think are the most important for us as vocal artists. We will explore the solar plexus chakra, the Manipura, the heart chakra, the Anahata, and the throat chakra, the Vishuddha chakra. I would recommend for today's class that you have some props on hand. For example, you could have a chair that is nice and sturdy, or you can use a wall or a countertop. You could have a strap, a yoga blanket to protect your knees during lunges, etc. Yoga blocks. And then I like to use my Coregeous ball. We're going to use that in 2 spots in the class. One to do a nice gentle neck stretch as we're exploring a throat bind. And later on in the class, as we get towards the end, as a head support as an alternative to a yoga block. My name is Claire Galloway. I'm a professional singer as well as a voice teacher, and I'm very interested in somatic work. So that's really getting in touch with your body and allowing it to send you messages instead of thinking more top down or mind to body. And what that means is I really like to explore the connection of the breath to the energy of the body, to the sensation of the body, and so many other things, which connect so deeply to what we do as singers. This class is not only for singers, of course, it's just especially helpful to those of us that do sing as a profession, or perhaps you use your voice in your profession as a teacher or an instructor, or any other number of things. So this class will last for about 1 hour, maybe slightly longer, and I do plan to offer many alternative poses throughout the class. There are many types of energies that we're going to be focusing on, and some of us find that our inner fire runs a little bit too hot these days. So you may decide to take some poses that are just a lower simmer energy. Or if you're somebody who's looking to burn a little bit brighter, you might choose some of the more energetic poses. I'll offer them throughout the class, and I will demonstrate as I am able. So we'll start today in a seated position, and we're going to first greet and explore our throat chakra by coming into its mudra or hand position. So this one in Sanskrit is known as the Akash or the Shuni mudra. And all you need to do is put your middle finger and your thumb together on both hands, and then you'll bring it to the top of your knees. And we're just going to breathe here for a second, seeing if you can sense into where your throat is. Maybe if you're talking like me, you can sense where your vocal folds are, where your larynx is. And as you breathe, see if you notice any energy there. Is there a color or a temperature or a shape that sort of sticks out to you? And keep in mind that the throat chakra in yogic tradition is known as the toll booth between your emotions and your mind. So as you play with that, or as you sense through your energy in your throat chakra today, perhaps set an intention for your throat chakra or send it a message like, hey, I'd like to open the doors of my toll booth a little bit more widely so I can express myself a little more clearly. And what we'll do now is we're going to explore the throat bind that I mentioned earlier on. This is called the Jalandhara Bandha, and it's an interesting sensation. We're going to start by exploring glottal onsets. Those of us who are singers have often explored this, but if you haven't, you can simply say the words on earth. And as you do that, notice the sensation in your throat. It's actually within your larynx and your vocal cords as they close to create the beginning of both the sounds of those words. On earth, the chords come together in order to start that sound, and that's glottal closure or glottal onset. The reason I bring this up and the reason we're practicing it is because that is the movement you're going to use in this bind. So say it with me one more time. On earth. And then just stop right before you make the sound, feeling that closed sensation in your throat. It could even be that same sensation if you're hiccuping or you're trying to hold in a burp or something along those lines. It's a little closure. So as you've played with that, let's now move into the Jalandhara Bandha. You're going to gently lean forward, teeny tiny, just a little 10 to 15 degree bend, not very far at all. And this is how it will look. We're going to fully inhale and lift our shoulders. At the top of the inhale, you'll find that little closure, that feeling right before the vowel of on. And you'll bring your chin down towards your collarbones, and your collarbone and sternum come up towards the chin. So you'll feel a nice stretch in the back of your neck. Once you've held it for as long as you feel comfortable, you'll release the sternum, let it drop back down, bring the chin back to neutral, and fully exhale. We'll do this twice and then do a little exploration. So here we go. Leaning slightly forward, bringing your shoulders up, breathing in very deeply. And then you'll close off that throat. The folds will come together as if you were about to do a glottal. Bring the chin down and the sternum comes up. And hold there as long as you are able without pushing any feelings of panic. We don't want to ignite any of those concerning feelings, but just exploring what this feels like. And then before you exhale, dropping the sternum and shoulders down, bringing the chin to neutral and exhaling. Let's do that one more time. Nice deep breath in. Shoulders and sternum come up, chin drops down, and close the glottis. When you're ready, return to neutral pose and exhale. Close your eyes and just take a second to breathe in and out through your nose. And notice if anything has shifted with the sensation in your throat. Any shifts in color or shape or size or temperature. And what we're going to do now is just a couple of gentle neck rolls and stretches. And we'll do the bandha one more time afterwards just to see if that shifts anything for you. So bringing your ear over to your left, if you're watching me, rolling your chin forward to the sternum, rolling your ear to your right shoulder, and gently dropping the head backwards, but not straining too far. One more time, same direction, over to your left, down, right, dropping the head back, and we'll reverse over to your right, feeling the stretch wherever it hits for you today. Maybe it's in the side neck, maybe it's in the trapezius muscles in the back of your neck, maybe you feel it between your shoulder blades. One more time in that same direction. Come to neutral. And you can grab a Coregeous ball or an exercise ball that has nice soft material to it, and it is not fully inflated. And I'll show you what it looks like with the Coregeous ball on the second round. If you don't have one of these, you can simply use your palms. So take your palm and put it right underneath your jawline and your ear on the opposite side of your body and drag the skin down towards your collarbone. You want some friction here. You want it to catch a little bit because we are trying to stretch the front neck muscle, the scalene muscle. And we're never going to push past a sharp pain. Just finding the edge of gentle stretch, maybe a feeling of slight discomfort, but no sharp pains. Every time you exhale, finding a little bit more release into that sensation of stretch. If you feel you need a little bit more of a stretch, you can always add the weight of your opposite hand, or you can gently lean your head further away towards the opposite ear. On your next exhale, come back to neutral and we'll go to the other side. You can continue with your hand, or you can join me and try using the Coregeous ball. So it's the same idea. The Coregeous ball or the exercise ball goes underneath your jawline and drags the skin down towards the collarbone. And you can do the same thing by adding more weight here if you need more stretch, or you can rotate the ball in towards your neck, towards the collarbone, again, to grip more skin and add a little bit to that stretch, or you can drop your ear further to the opposite side. After we breathe here in those couple of gentle neck rolls and stretches, I'd love for you to just speak a little bit, sing a little bit, and explore where your voice feels right now, having done those stretches and the bandha. And we'll move one more time into the Jalandhara Bandha before we start exploring more deeply into our other chakras for today's class. So come back into your mudra, leaning gently forward. Remember, it's a very gentle angle. Taking a nice deep breath in through your nose. Bringing the shoulders up, the sternum approaches the chin and the chin approaches the sternum, and you close off the glottis at the top of the inhale. As long as you're comfortable, you don't have to follow my rhythm. And then returning to a neutral posture as you exhale. One more time, breathing in, approaching the bandha, and closing the glottis. Returning to neutral before you exhale. Let's now make our way to the top of the mat to standing. You can slowly roll up. And we're just going to come to Tadasana. So I would love for you to explore alignment, making sure that your knees are over your ankles, your hips are over your ankles, your shoulders are over your hips, and your ears are over your collarbones. Something good for us to check in with as human beings, especially in this modern day, and certainly as singers, as we focus on our full body as our instrument. So the next mudra, I'm going to face you just so you can see me more clearly, is going to address the heart chakra. So this is the lotus mudra. You'll take your fingertips and gently place them together and then bring the base of your palms together. So we've got this little lotus blossom, or this feeling that we're cupping something very precious and gentle. And you'll bring that right to the middle of your sternum, maybe slightly over to the left if you'd like to approach really coming over your heart's energy. And we'll simply take our time here to breathe and greet the heart chakra. Again, noticing if you sense any color or shape or heavy burn or simple smolder. This heart chakra is really our place of giving and receiving love. So seeing if you can check in with where that sits with you in this moment. And if you'd like to send a message to your heart or set an intention, please feel free to do so as we gently explore the energy of the heart. Next, we'll gently move into the solar plexus chakra, which is a very important and well-known one for those of us who are singers, because we spend a lot of time thinking about our diaphragm. So your solar plexus is right at the base of your sternum, where your rib cage comes together in the center of your body. And it's where your diaphragm descends, and we feel it in the front. So if you're somebody who is less familiar, you can try panting. And you'll feel maybe some activity in that area. That's the diaphragm moving up and down. And this chakra in particular is your inner fire or your inner sense of self. So again, some of us might feel that that burns a little bit overly brightly and tires us out, burns us out. And some of us might feel that it's a little bit lacking in energy. So I'd love for you to check in with that as we go into this next mudra for the solar plexus chakra. In this one, you'll bring your fingertips together with your hands sort of wide, almost like you're plotting an evil plot. And then you'll bring it right over the solar plexus. The thumbs will come into the body where the solar plexus is, that spot we just found with the panting. Middle finger will point away from the body, and the pinkies will come to your belly button. I'll come to my side so that you can see that from the side perspective as well. And take some time here to close your eyes and breathe and just check in with how your inner fire is sitting today, how it's burning. Maybe you see a color or a temperature or a shape. And again, feel free to send it a message or an intention. And we are going to start our flow now that will burn a little bit brighter, burn a little bit more energy. And as I say, please feel free to choose the poses that I offer as alternatives that maybe burn a little bit less brightly to help you temper your inner fire if that's what you need today. And take this time to set a focused intention for the flow today. Maybe you feel that one of those chakras is calling out for your attention, or maybe there's something else that you would like to work through on the mat today. We will be exploring gravity quite a bit throughout this class, and that is because of the idea of Kundalini in yogic tradition, where we want to draw up energy from our very lowest chakra, the root chakra, all the way up through the top of the crown chakra. So by playing with gravity, we enable that energy to travel a little bit more easily through the other chakras and to energize them, but maybe to cleanse them or to stoke them or awake them or temper them. So we'll start first with some sun salutations, focusing on a forward bend. You can absolutely do this seated if you feel that maybe there's any issue with gravity or inversions for you. Nice deep breath in as we bring the arms up overhead and we fold forward, keeping a little micro bend in the knees, feeling your muscles wrap up your legs so that you're not just flopping through your hip joints. And feel free to stop wherever your end range is. Maybe that's your hips, your shins, the top of your feet, the floor. And again, you could be seated and just folding over your bent legs. Nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth or the nose. On your next inhale, coming back up, bending your knees, feeling your muscles in your glutes and your hamstrings wrap around your bones to bring you back up to standing. Feeling the heart, the solar plexus, and the throat all opening up towards the ceiling as we dive forward with a flat back to our second forward fold. We'll do one more after this, finding your own end range. Maybe on your exhales, you find a little bit more space between your vertebrae or in the back of your legs. Maybe you experiment with putting your hands on your opposite elbows to find a little bit more drag of gravity towards the floor, allowing the head to just drop towards the floor. On your next inhale, same thing, grounding into the floor with all four corners of your feet coming back up, shining the light of your chakras towards the ceiling. And bending over one more time. Again, maybe just exploring the next level for your forward bend. Maybe you place your fingertips underneath your feet. Breathing here. For 2 to 3 more breaths. Now we'll move into an exploration of Cobra pose. And this is something that you could do in tabletop or simply follow along, finding your own alternatives. So we're going to step or jump back into plank. You could easily come to half plank. And we'll do our half push-up, a chaturanga, bringing the chin and the chest to the floor, releasing the feet, and feeling the abdomen engage to protect your lower back. Shine the throat towards the opposite wall. This is our first cobra, being nice and gentle, focusing on the throat chakra. Abdomen engaged, feeling those hip bones pulling into the floor to protect your lower back. And on your next exhale, we'll move back into child's pose. Feel here that you're actually protecting your heart a little bit, cupping around it with your shoulder blades. It's not quite as exposed as it is in Cobra. Moving forward again, coming to half plank, all of us, unless you'd like to charge your fire a bit more. Elbows come in to the sides of the rib cage. And this time we'll explore Cobra, thinking about the heart chakra opening up and pulling forward, coming from that place of protection, still feeling the hips grounding in, checking in with the back of your neck, finding just a little bit of that chin tilt to keep the back of the neck long, almost like we found in the throat bind earlier. And then coming back, move your palms forward just a little bit so that your knees bend to about 90 degrees. This is called melting heart pose or extended puppy. And the heart opens towards the floor as your shoulder blades kiss on your back. If you're not comfortable doing this on the ground, you could use the back of a chair or a countertop to find a similar stretch in the front of your body, an opening of the heart chakra. Bringing your palms underneath your shoulders, rolling forward to half plank, chaturanga. That's that half push-up. And we'll do our last cobra pose, this time thinking about the solar plexus pulling forward, still protecting that lower back. If you'd like to get a little bit more burn, you can pull into upward dog with the knees coming off the ground. We'll now move into downward dog. Again, if this is too much fire for you, you can come to child's pose. And for this next flow, you can easily do this in tabletop. We're going to be lifting our leg and coming across in a little bit of a crunch. So feel free to do this in tabletop. Otherwise, from downward dog, let's lift our right leg, pulling it in towards the solar plexus and across to your opposite elbow. We'll do this one more time this way. Opposite elbow. And this last time it comes straight in to the same elbow, pulling in and up through that solar plexus and coming to a lunge, bringing your knee down. And you could easily fold your mat if you need a little more support for your knee, or use a blanket. This next series, you could easily do with the support of a chair underneath your pelvis, or you can think about shortening your stance. I'll show you that in a couple places. For now, release the top of your foot, maybe adjust as you need, keeping your legs nice and wide so that we have a stable base. This is a long stretch for the hip flexor and the psoas muscle, which is very connected to the diaphragm. In fact, it is indeed connected to the diaphragm and can help us relieve some of the tension that we find sitting most of the day. As you're comfortable, bring your hands to the top of your quad, or you can stay with your palms on the floor. If you feel the need for a bit more fire, bring your arms up, letting your throat, heart, and solar plexus shine up towards the ceiling, still feeling those hips pulling forward again to protect your lower back. Coming back down, curl over your toes, maybe shorten your stance here as we roll, using those muscles in the hamstring and the glute, especially for someone who's hypermobile, making sure your joints aren't doing all the work. We roll to crescent pose. If arms up is too much for you, you can absolutely bend them or bring them to your hips. We'll roll and rotate the back foot to a 45-degree angle. You'll notice I shortened my stance. That's better for my body. You find what's best for yours, where you feel stable and your weight is centered. Finding a little bit of a bend in the knee and raising your arms for warrior one. Again, feeling that back hip pulling forward and under like a little pelvic tuck to protect your back and your hips. Open your arms and your shoulder blades come to kiss each other as your elbows pull backwards in cactus pose, letting the heart, throat, and solar plexus shine forward to that opposite wall. Breathe here. On your next exhale, bring your arms up and we'll turn sideways, just gently adjusting your stance for warrior two. Making sure that front foot is about to cut the arch of your back foot if you were to draw a line. Playing with the alignment of your knee over the center of your foot. Let's straighten the front leg and we'll come into triangle pose. This is a great side stretch, good for us singers to keep the ribs and the hips separated to allow the diaphragm to stay descended longer. Nice deep breath in, don't lock that front leg. Lifting the rib cage away from the hips and shifting the rib cage over. You already feel that stretch in the side. You could stay here and start to allow your arms to windmill. Again, here you could stop at your hip as your balance with your hand, your quad, your shin, or the inside of your foot. And you can play with your gaze, whether it goes up towards the upper hand, down towards the floor, or simply sideways, whatever is best for you. And imagine that you are between two planes of glass so that you're not allowing your torso to shift either direction. You're spinning your heart, your solar plexus, and your throat forward with your hips. On your next inhale, bring your fingertips on the lower arm forward and lift away with your upper arm. Come back into warrior two, and we'll do reverse warrior so we can stretch the front side of our bodies now. So turning your palms upwards, we will again move the ribs forward and then lift up and away over the back leg, keeping your arm on your hip or your quad. It's a gentle rest, not putting a lot of pressure there. You could simply do this standing or sitting as a side bend. Breathing here, allowing every exhale to find a little more space between that stretched rib and hip. On your next inhale, coming back to warrior two. And let's windmill our arms down, coming to chaturanga if you would like, or simply coming straight to child's pose. Breathe here for a second before we make our way towards doing this on the other side. And just check in with your intention and message for the day. As you breathe in and out, check in on your throat chakra, heart chakra, solar plexus chakra. Notice any changes, any shifts, any messages they're trying to send you. And check in with your body and your breathing. We've stoked quite a fire. We'll do a transition to the other side now. Slowly walking your hands up along your quads and the mat. We'll come to the side of the mat and open our legs into a nice wide V. You could also do this seated in a chair with your legs wide or simply together. This is going to be another side bend. And what we will do is bring, for you, maybe the right arm. For me, this is my left. And again, we'll lift the rib cage away from the hips as the hips ground into the floor and begin to bend over to the side. If you'd like to, you can reach towards your toes. But the most important thing in this side bend is that we're going to spin the heart and the solar plexus at least to the side of the room, if not towards the ceiling. And you can play with turning your gaze up or down as we did in triangle pose. Breathing here, finding space on the inhales. And on the exhales, maybe there's a little bit of extra room to stretch. But again, not finding any flash pain, just finding what is gentle release for you. On your next inhale, coming back up to center. And we'll stretch to the other side, lifting your arm, The ribs come up and away, the sternum pulls towards the ceiling while the hips ground into the floor, and we bend to the other side. You'll notice I use my lower hand as an opposition, as a sort of balance to make sure I'm not leaving the weight out of my opposite hip. We want to keep grounded into both hips. Similar to singing, we want to stay nice and connected to our grounding in our feet, in our hips, in our low bodies so that we don't float away. Turning the solar plexus, the throat, the heart up towards the ceiling. Every inhale brings more space, and the exhale, maybe some more release. On your next inhale, bringing the arm up and over, back to center. And we'll come to the back of the mat to do the same downward dog series that we did on the other side. I'd encourage you to take the same alternatives that you took, but remember that each side of our body is different, so it may call out for different things. So if you use the chair to do some of the flow, try using the chair, but maybe experiment with some of the poses that you see me doing here. So we'll make our way to the front of the mat. Let's play with a chaturanga here from half plank or full, if that's what your body calls for right now. Coming into cobra, pulling those shoulder blades together, hip bones come into the floor, abdomen engages to protect your lower back. And we'll push back into downward dog. Breathing here, checking in with your energy, reminding your body and your energy of your intention and your messages for today's flow. And we will lift the left leg. So again, reminder, you could do this in tabletop with your knees down. Left leg comes up and pulls across to the right elbow. Left leg comes up, across to the right elbow. Feeling that fire stoking and cleansing in your solar plexus. In and up to come to lower lunge. Again, feel free to support yourself in a chair underneath your pelvis here for this next series of crescent and warriors. Otherwise, bring your knee down, release the top of your foot. You can stay here and breathe, feeling that pull of the hip towards the floor and a slight pelvic tuck to protect your lower back, and continue that stretch. Come up on an inhale, if you would like to your quad. And again, if you need a little bit more fire, breathing the arms up, feeling the heart, throat, solar plexus flaming up towards the ceiling. Thinking about that gentle neck tuck to keep the back of the neck safe and to counter all of those things that we do in our daily life is pulling towards the computer screen and your phone on your exhale. Palms back down, curling over the back toes, adjusting your stance as you need to slowly roll through your back, feeling your center down to the floor to come into crescent pose. Again, hands can stay on your hips or bent to the side, or they can pull up towards the ceiling. Bringing your hands to your center, rotate your back foot to come into warrior one. Your hands can come up again, making sure all four corners of both feet are touching the mat. And that hip is pulling forward, gentle pelvic tuck. And then the elbows pull backwards, shoulder blades kiss as we open the heart, the throat, the solar plexus in cactus pose. Again, protecting the back of the neck with a slight chin tuck. Just little itty bitty, imagining a lift behind your ears, if nothing else. Coming back up, open the arms, open the hips, rotating to warrior two, adjust your feet. So again, that front foot would create a cross section through the arch of your foot. Straighten the front knee. On an inhale, lift the rib cage away from the hips and pulling forward towards the front foot. Keep a micro bend in that front knee. Find your end range as we go into Trikonasana, triangle pose, feeling those two panes of glass. So again, you don't rotate too far either direction, and play with your gaze. Breathing here. Same as the wide-legged side bend. Every inhale brings some extra space, and exhale brings a chance to release. On your next inhale, allow the lower fingertips to pull forward. The upper arm reaches for the ceiling and brings you back to standing. We bend the front leg for warrior two, making sure the knee tracks over those front toes. And then we move those ribs forward again, coming back into reverse warrior. Breathing here. Trying to find those two panes of glass again. Finding whatever's comfortable for you. Again, you could be doing this in a chair with support for your pelvis, just to find the space between your front ribs and hip. On your next inhale, coming back to warrior two, staying here and breathing. And windmilling your hands to the ground. You're welcome to do a chaturanga here or simply go straight to child's pose. Chaturanga. Cobra pose, feeling all three of those chakras pulling forward. And coming back into child's pose. Checking in with how your body feels after burning lots of heat. Creating energy, pulling that energy from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra. On your next exhale, cross your ankles and transition to a seated position as we come into our sort of ab heat series. We're going to do boat pose. If this is too much for you, in fact, let me move my block and I'm going to rotate towards the top of my mat so you can see me a bit better. But I am going to have my yoga block or my Coregeous ball on hand for a support in a pose or two. So if boat pose, which is sitting on your hips, working your abs, is too much for you in this position, there are a couple things you can do. Palms down behind you, coming down to your elbows, or doing this in a chair, lifting your legs. Your other option is to lie down. Bring your arms out to a wide V and simply lift your hips off the ground. That focuses on your low abdominal support, which is very important for all of us, but especially those of us who are singers. It helps keep us grounded, connected into our body, and helps to keep the diaphragm distended. Now let's go on to boat pose using any of those alternatives that you prefer. So coming onto your hips, your feet are about hips width apart. We're going to roll back on the hips and lift the legs, toes together, knees together, arms out or on the floor behind you. Breathing, feeling that fire. See if you can feel your heart and your solar chakra pulling forward. And if you need the extra heat, on this next exhale, you can straighten your legs or pull your hips up a little higher and come to a seat. Bring your feet forward in front of you, and we're going to do a counter pose called reverse tabletop, or you can do reverse or upward plank pose. You could easily do this in a chair if you would like to, or you can simply stay where you are here and put your arms behind you and open your chest. This is a counter pose just to open up the pecs and those chakras we've been talking about. So finding your hands about at least one palm's length behind you. You can try with your fingertips totally turned into your body or a little bit outward. That works better for my particular body. Grounding your feet into the ground, grounding your palms into the ground, feeling your shoulder blades come towards one another. We lift the hips in reverse tabletop. Looking up at the sky, but again, keeping a little chin tuck in so that you're not allowing your head to way back too far and you're protecting your neck. Feeling your solar plexus, your heart, and your throat chakras bursting towards the ceiling. On your next exhale, come down. We'll do this one more time. You can do it the exact same way. You can try one of the alternatives I've already mentioned, or you can come to upward plank, where you bring your feet forward, ground into your heels, and come up the same way with your legs straight out in front of you. So let's breathe here. Feeling that fire cleansing, maybe those toll booth doors opening or maybe closing for you, and feeling the ability to give and receive love in a way that still protects and keeps your cup full. Bringing your hips down. Your counter pose here is either to bring your hands forward and lift your hips, or simply come into a forward fold, which you can of course do in your chair if that's where you are. Slowly rolling through your spine after this forward fold. And if you had your hips lifted, you can come down into this forward fold with us. We're going to slowly roll through the spine, activating that deep front line, the deep core that helps us keep our nice tall posture. Good for humans and for singers. So imagine that you feel engagement in that front low abdomen. The pelvic bone pulls up towards the belly button. Belly button pulls in towards the spine. That solar plexus area and chakra, that fire pulls towards the spine. The sternum and the heart pull towards the spine. The shoulders start to roll back towards one another as we trace the front of the neck up with our chin, protecting that throat chakra as well as the back of the neck. We are going to do some exploration of a shoulder stand at this point, and I encourage you to take it nice and slow or to forego this altogether. What you could do is some gentle bridge poses. So just as a reminder for those of you that need it, feet come flat, we'll roll through the spine, and those of you doing the shoulder stand can do this with me as well, rolling down to the mat. And for bridge pose, you'll put your feet nice and close to your glutes, your hips, grounding in through all four corners of your feet, even feeling those heels pulling in towards your body to feel your hamstrings light up a little bit. You'll put your hands down, palms down on the floor, and roll up through your pelvis, feeling that pubic bone pull towards the belly button, keeping the neck long and creating space from the top of the skull all the way to the bottom of your coccyx, your tailbone. Pulling those hips up towards the ceiling and feeling your spine roll off the ground vertebra by vertebra. If you'd like to, and those of us that are doing the shoulder stand, this is a great preparation. You can try to bring your shoulders underneath you. If you're able, you can clasp your hands together. You could grab a strap and do the same. And then bringing your arms back out, we'll slowly roll through the spine, one vertebra at a time. That same feeling we had in the forward roll up that we just did, one vertebra at a time. The solar plexus pulls towards the floor. Then we move towards the belly button. Then the low abdomen. Then the pubic bone releases. So if you're not going to do the shoulder stand, you could do a number of bridge poses. The other thing that you can do, if you have a wall or a sturdy chair near you, is to lie close to that wall, facing it, and climb your legs up slowly and use that same movement through your spine that we used for the bridge pose to bring you towards your shoulders. Again, you'll notice this is bringing our throat towards our sternum, just like the bind that we did at the beginning of class, protecting and focusing the energy in that throat chakra. So that is one alternative for the shoulder stand. I encourage you to experiment with that or the bridge pose, or simply coming to a gentle child's pose for rest. But those of us doing the shoulder stand, let's come back to our reclined position. And we'll work our way up through the spine, slowly supporting the back with your palms.
Top of your arms are on the ground, and we're reaching up through the feet towards the ceiling. Same idea I mentioned up against the wall. We're really bringing a lot of energy from that root chakra all the way up through the solar plexus, the heart, and landing it directly by the throat. See if you can pull up through your spine, feeling your hips lifting, your glutes engaging, supporting that back and the spine. And notice that same feeling of the bind in the throat, although we will not close the glottis here. Seeing if you can feel the top of your skull pulling away from your torso so that we have a nice length in the back of the neck. Breathing here, feeling that same engagement, pulling up towards the ceiling. If you'd like to explore straightening your arms and binding, you're welcome to do so. Now we'll slowly allow the legs to come over the head to move into plow pose, continuing to protect that throat chakra. Toes come to the ground. You can continue to support the back, still feeling that engagement or pull of the spine and the deep core to keep the back long instead of collapsing in on itself. You could bend your knees here. And you could certainly do this at the wall, or again, stay with bridge pose, or climbing up the wall just to experiment. As we come out of this, we'll go slowly. You can either keep your knees bent and work your way back towards the floor, or move through shoulder stand. But the main goal as we come out of this is to roll through the spine, just like we did coming up from our forward fold, just like we did coming up from our seated forward fold, just like we did coming out of bridge pose. So it's guided through the deep core and through the vertebra. So slowly, one leg at a time, straight legs are bent, supporting as you need with your hands, rolling slowly, feeling that heart pull towards the spine. Solar plexus pulls towards the spine, rolling towards the floor. Belly button pulls towards the floor, supporting your legs, or you can move your palms to the floor. Belly button pulls towards the spine and the floor. Hips. And then bend your legs. Hold them into your chest, and let's rock side to side. Those of you that were in bridge pose or playing with climbing up the wall or simply in child's pose can roll onto your backs and join us in this gentle rocking side to side. And then a gentle rock forwards and backwards along your spine, just massaging out that extra work we just did. And notice that your neck wants to respond and allow it to do so. Let it move, let it shift. And as you're breathing here, check in with your throat chakra. Let's circle the knees, rolling out those hips against the floor and that low back that tends to be so compressed. Just notice what your throat chakra energy feels like. Has the color changed, the shape, the temperature? Do you have any messages to or from your throat chakra in this moment? And I moved my block away, so I'm going to grab it, or you can use your Coregeous ball or the blanket. This is going to be a support for our heads. It's going to go right underneath your hairline at the base of your skull. These are the occipital muscles. And these are the muscles that get really tight as we crane forward to stare at our screens all day. And it's just going to be a nice gentle support for our heads here. Keeping your feet grounded into the floor, all four corners. We're going to do a gentle cat-cow that's focused right in the pelvic and low spine. Just again, as a counterpose to what we just did with the shoulder stand. That's a lot of work and a lot of unusual movement for the spine. So we'll do a little cat, pulling that pubic bone up towards the belly button, feeling your back spread and widen and flatten against the floor. Very gentle, focused cow as the tailbone starts to press into the floor. And again, you might feel your neck is moving against the yoga block. Just let it do that. It might even massage those tight occipital muscles. Pulling the pubic bone in towards the belly button as the back widens against the floor. Feeling a little bit of engagement as the tailbone maybe pulls off the floor ever so slightly. Rolling back to cow. And on your next cat, we're going to move into happy baby. Nice counter pose also. Feel free to use a strap if you need, if you can't reach your feet, or simply bring your knees into your chest. Those of you doing happy baby, bring your feet up and grab the outer blades of your feet. Bringing your knees in towards your armpits, and again, relaxing your neck into that block or Coregeous ball or cushion if that's what you have. And on every inhale, finding a little bit more space from the skull to the base of your tailbone. And on the exhales, allowing your quads to massage into your abdomen, where all of those muscles connected to your diaphragm work so hard to change your breathing patterns as a singer. Notice too that just like the shoulder stand and the plow pose, we have our throat protected. The chin is bent in towards the sternum ever so slightly by having that prop there. So we're focusing energy at the throat and protecting it. You'll notice that because our shoulder blades are pulled away from one another as we reach for the feet, the heart and the solar plexus are also in a protected place. So as you breathe, feel free to roll side to side here, just rocking back and forth. You can shake your head no and nod it yes to see how that feels. And just breathe and explore those 3 chakras and how they feel after this long flow and how they feel in this protected position. When you're ready, we're going to move into our final pose, Shavasana. So you'll release your feet and allow them to come to the ground. You can leave the prop under your head if you would like, or remove it. You can straighten your legs and arms if you would like, or you can keep your knees bent and allow them to knock in. This protects the lower back, especially for those of us that tend to kind of stick the booty out and arch the lower back. So this is my preferred position. And as we rest for the next few minutes in Shavasana, I'd like for you to place your hands very gently over your throat chakra, just to feel the warmth, not to feel weight or pressure, but just to feel the warmth of your palms and your fingers against that throat chakra. Listening for any messages it might have to send to you, and sending any messages you feel you want to send to it. When you're ready, moving your palms and your fingers over the heart, relaxing your shoulders, and checking in with that area, color, shape of energy that allows you to give and receive love, again, in a way that still keeps your cup full. And moving your palms over the solar plexus, checking in with that inner fire, the color, the height of the flames, that sense of self and vitality. Breathing in anything that can cleanse those flames, perhaps stoke them. Breathing out anything that is extra smoke or burning too hot to burn you out, letting that go. I encourage you to stay here for as long as you'd like. You may release your hands or return to that chakra that was calling out to you most in this particular moment. Breathing in what serves your message and intention for today.
and breathing out anything that doesn't serve you in this moment as a singer, as an artist, as a human. Feeling the weight of your body pulling in towards the floor, becoming one with the space around you. As you leave behind the past and anything that doesn't serve you, just existing. Gently bring your focus and energy to your toes, pulling up through your ankles and your legs, those knees that support you through so much, those hamstrings, glutes, hips, pelvis that support your singing as well as the rest of you throughout the world. Moving your attention again to your solar plexus, inner fire and sense of self. The clean energy of your heart that allows you to give love to the world, give your voice and artistry to the world, and receive the good and warmth and love that the world has to offer you. And your throat, which allows you to express yourself in such incredible, monumental, unique, authentic ways. Gently bringing your attention to your jaw, the back of your neck, your tongue, that beloved soft palate. Releasing the tension around your eyes, your eyebrows, your forehead. And whenever you are truly ready, roll to one side with your knees bent and your torso bent in fetal position. Breathing here, feeling that shift in energy. And slowly coming to seated, feeling renewed, reborn. And I invite you to choose one of the mudra from the beginning of our class, the Akash mudra with the third finger and the thumb, gently resting your hands on your knees to speak with your throat chakra and energize and cleanse it. Or the lotus mudra for your heart chakra. Or finally, the Hakini mudra for your solar plexus chakra. Or no mudra at all. Just breathing and noticing how your energy feels and presents and is moving through your body in this moment. Ready to bring your true, unique, authentic self out into the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.